r/Ask Reddit. What are the spookiest audio or video clips on the internet? Operation Wandering Soul. The US government was coming up with new ways of luring the Viet Cong out of the jungles during the Vietnam War. They came up with this disturbing and creepy audio recording of what sounds like spirits of the undead calling out to the Viet Cong. The US military would play this audio at night to try to bring out the Viet Cong from their hiding spots, and demoralize them. Just imagine being in the middle of a jungle late at night and hearing that on full blast, not knowing where it's coming from or what it is. I studied this for a project years ago, as well as the Chio Hoi program. We had to teach middle school kids about our project, and it's safe to say some are probably still scarred. One of the professors walking around happened to stop by our booth, and by the time he heard our speech and listened to the recording, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. And if you think it's bad, have it translated. It plays on their religious beliefs and makes everything so much worse. Stephen McDaniel being interviewed on the local news about his missing neighbor, who he had killed and dismembered, and learning mid-interview that her body had been found. The link also contains footage that he shot of the victim through her window the night he killed her. This was creepy the way he shut down when they said body. You could see his soul leave his body. He looks like he's just been hit by the news that she's dead. Honestly, I could totally have believed that, but maybe I'm just naive. I find the World War I battle sounds to be scary. It's just extremely loud sounds of firearms going off and artillery crashing down, but you can't make out one single shot. They're all clumped together in what sounds like hell. To think soldiers would endure this during a battle for hours, even days at a time, makes me feel for the poor soldiers. I remember one audio of a woman screaming while a chimpanzee was eating her face, or something like that. I heard it a long time ago, so I don't remember the details. Her friend was on the phone begging for help and the call was recorded. I don't remember the audio itself, but I do remember I felt terrible after hearing it. Yep. She lost her eyes, lips, face, ears, fingers, nose. It really effed her up sadly. In the call you can hear a classic chimpanzee screech, and the dispatcher thought it was fake but sent an officer there. The chimp tried, but the passenger door of the police car locked. The chimp then punched the mirror off and started his way to the driver door, and the officer shot the crap out of the chimp, and it ran inside and died by its cage. I remember it from years ago as well. I'd be terrified of chimps if they just roamed around. If I remember right, the owner had given the chimp Xanax to calm it down. And apparently Xanax doesn't have the same effect on chimps as it does humans. This phone call that the Golden State Killer made to one of his previous victims. For those too nervous to venture, it's a short clip of a woman saying hello, then loud breathing and whispering 3 times, "Gonna kill you." Pretty spooky. If I received that call, the next call on my log would be the cops. Well, turns out he was the cops. Wait, that's illegal. 2003 Station nightclub concert. Pyrotechnics were used irresponsibly, causing foam to catch fire, which then spread to the surroundings and engulfed the building in flames within a matter of minutes. 100 people lost their lives. So many things in this video still give me chills when I think about it. The screams, the sheer magnitude of it all, and the time it took people to register what happened. And how quickly it all happens. 1 minute there's smoke, then people crammed in the doorway, then screaming, then nothing. All within like 5 minutes. Completely wild, but a good lesson in the dangers of fire. The effing bouncers actually prevented people from exiting through a back door. Because it was the band entrance. Russian ghost radio station has always creeped me out. No one knows who runs it or why. It just makes odd sounds, and every once in a while someone will speak. There's a radio documentary on numbers stations available somewhere on the internet. It details the Lincolnshire poacher, a numbers station broadcasting from an RAF base on Cyprus. There was an Asian one as well, called Cherry Ripe, that broadcast from Darwin in Australia for a while. There were a lot of them, and they were thought to be an espionage tool, where an agent could tune in, and, using a one-time pad, receive an unbreakable message. It was good because the geographical area of the transmission was massively broad and the listener merely had to passively listen, instead of transmitting. A British cabinet official once said something like, "They are what you assume them to be, let us say they are not for public consumption." He was confirming they had an espionage purpose. Someone has made the point that whoever chose the Lincolnshire poacher to be the call sign of the station must have had something of a sardonic sense of humor. The Versailles Wedding Hall disaster. It was a fairly lucrative event hall in Jerusalem. The contractor who built the hall cut some corners and it was not up to specs. In particular, they misused a newly invented building material called palcal. Then, on May 24, 2001, during a wedding, the entire dance floor collapsed into the ground floor. 23 people died, including the bride. The inventor of palcal was then sentenced to 4 years in jail, which is weird on its own. There is a very unpleasant video of the crash. The song in the background is called, roughly translated, I Have a Golden Heart, which was an incredibly major hit by a very popular singer Sarit Haddad. Look her up. You'll probably won't like her style, but she has an unbelievable voice, which since the incident decided never to perform it again. So one of the stickiest, catchiest, and frankly a bit annoying songs of the decade became a symbol for negligent catastrophe. Edit, the bride didn't die, she was heavily injured but survived. Edit, they fell from the 3rd floor to the ground floor, the bride was badly injured but survived. There's a horrific interview, in Hebrew, where the groom tells how he carried her out of there unconscious, though at the time he couldn't tell if she was alive. The contractors also went to jail, each for 2 years, while Eli Ron, the inventor of palcal, did 4. The video narration is in Dutch apparently, the music and the sings are all in Hebrew. The last frame show volunteers from Zaka, initials for Disaster Victims Identification, a Haredi, that is, ultra-orthodox, organization which clean up death scenes from human remains and prepares them for burial. The 9/11 calls. There's 2 disturbing ones from the towers where people die on the phone, one where an Asian woman suffocates and becomes engulfed by flames and another where the building collapses on a man. Also, in the 1970s a park guest recorded audio of a Disney employee being crushed to death. I feel like there is a major difference between something spooky and the depressed for days stuff people are posting. OP, hey everyone, post some cool spooky videos. Everyone, how about this audio of children being tortured? For real. I just wanna see videos of aliens or Bigfoot. Morbid isn't necessarily the same as scary. The massacre of Jonestown is spooky. First you hear the children and babies cry and then silence after. They all drank some poison and killed themselves because their leader Jim Jones said so. And because his men, who had guns pointed at said women and children, also said so. Definitely a more convincing argument. There's a recording of an interview with Ted Bundy on YouTube, in which halfway through he suddenly whispers something. I had earphones on when I was listening to it and it scared the crap out of me, felt like he was right behind me. Yup. I whipped my headphones off as soon as he started whispering. Creepy as hell. Nah. What was he whispering? I'm too spooked right now to watch. There is an audio clip on called The Bloop. I'm sure you have seen it. Basically an unidentified sound recorded in the ocean a few years back, believed to be from an animal, but the sound is so loud it couldn't have been from any animal we know of. Apparently much louder than a blue whale, suggesting there is a huge unknown monster chilling in the ocean. Supposedly it was debunked to be an ice quake, essentially an iceberg hitting the seafloor. From what I remember, that was simply the most logical answer next to a sea creature. The recording is slowed down to make it audible. It's scary AF emo. Fun fact, the sound came from the exact area H.P. Lovecraft described Cthulhu as sleeping at. Well, that fact isn't very fun at all. The first audio ever recorded back in 1860. It's of a woman singing Au clair de la lune. It sounds so eerie, and in my opinion, she sounds like a ghost. You can barely hear the words in the song from how distorted the audio is. Was a bit shaken when I went to sleep that night. Howling planets, whistling plasma waves, and pelting space rocks. The sounds of space is spooky, and NASA compiled a list of them. The atmosphere of Saturn's moon Titan resembles the static noise coming off a TV, with a rhythmic sound going on and off in the background. It is the unknown that spooks us. Like and subscribe for more r/ask Reddit videos.